that were set in qualifying, and therefore this is effectively the lap that they were planning to be their warm-up lap, you know, tyre warm-up and stuff like that. So it really isn't representative of any kind of pace that any of these cars have. We are going to start this under safety car conditions just to make sure that everything is safe in pit lane. And, well, the track is suggesting, yep, that we are starting to roll. Now, Moritz Berenberg starts 7th once again. He was very strong in race 1 and looked as though he would take the victory until his car basically shut down. And he had to restart the car, get back going again, and by the time he did that, he'd lost 2 positions. So he will be looking for revenge. He also lies over 30 points behind Hang Li Chao, who is on the pole position. And if Hang Li Chao maintains more than a 25-point advantage, then he will be champion before we go to Macau in a couple of weekends' time. This field and the SRO GT Cup will form the entry of the Greater Bay GT Cup race, which of course Han Li Chao took victory in last year. So no stranger to Macau. And a few cars on the field, a little bit battered and bruised after race 1's encounter. Polinam, once again, to Level Motorsports Chiao Chi Sun on the front row with Han Li Chao. So quite a similar grid to what we saw in race 1. Han Li Chao and Chua Chi Sun on row 1. Yang Meng and Wang Hao on row number 2. Zhang Hulin and Zhou Li Yan on row 3. That Mercedes fixed. Then Moritz Berenberg and Yu Rao on row number 4. And Xiao Meng and then Lu Weihun, or Nathan Lu, Jonathan Harris, and Daniel Lu Weilong at the tail of the field. A little bit more ballast added to the car of Nathan Lu. Lu Wenhu, after getting 2nd position, but then unfortunately being disqualified. But the championship really is between Han Li Chao and Moritz Berenberg. There isn't mathematically anybody who can feature unless Han Li Chao retires completely out of this race. Now, we did get a puncture, if you remember, in race number 1. Not quite sure how and where that puncture came from. And we are starting this race under safety car conditions, so we are not going to do 2 formation laps and then a side-by-side start. It's as though we are going to race single file start. So that's a slight difference in the wording between running under safety car start or under formation lap start, even if there is a safety car in front of both of them. 12 cars on the grid. So I think that means we've lost 2 from our original entry list. One, of course, will be the 007 machine that we lost in qualifying of Xia Wenjun. I'm just trying to remember the other car that had a shunt in race number 1. That was 777, wasn't it? Yeah. And unfortunately, Lenny Tian for RSR GT Racing not getting that car fixed in time. But the Mercedes that retired in the middle part of race number 1 is back out there. So Zhou Li Xuan, 6th position start for them. Looked like an ABS failure as they went over that bridge into turn number 1. And the car completely locked up, and basically he then decided, right, I'm not going to make turn 1, and my pit box is at the end of turn 1, so I'll just carry on. Lights not on the Mercedes. but he is in his rightful position. It's just there's quite a big gap to him and then Moritz Sperrenberg there for the W&S Motorsport run machine. Toyota Gazoo Racing China coming through with their 3 entries and then 3 for Pegasus, these beautiful Lotus Emiras. So we don't see enough Lotus Emiras in GT4 racing. They did appear in British GT in the early part of the year, but then went away again. We've seen Stefano D'Asti campaigning his in the European GT4 series. He's a sometime World Touring Car driver back in the day, but also a Lotus dealership in Italy, and has always campaigned a Lotus in GT racing, so it's great to have him in the European campaign. But they are stunning little cars, and exactly, in my mind, what a GT4 car should be. And do not take anything from the fact that they are in the last couple of positions. Right, green flag racing, so I think we have gone green there. Safety car has pulled in, and they weren't very compact, were they? That is the battle for 3rd position. Yang Meng and Wang Hao in 3rd spot. Moritz Sperrenberg already trying to make some inroads up to 6th position then, and should be getting past the Audi pretty shortly. In fact, has got rid of the Audi up to 5th then of Hulin. So we need to follow that 927 close. He's got a bit deep though. Both of them going a little bit deep, so I think they might have been caught out by the safety car coming in there, because it doesn't feel as though anyone's particularly up to speed. But our leader is car 33, Hanli Chow. And there he is, into the chicane for the first time. And a mammoth gap to Chuan Chi-sun in 2nd position. Then it's Yang Meng. Wang Hao in 4th, Berenberg in 5th, and then Chang Hulin in 6th spot. Not the same heroics from the Lotuses available to them in this race. In fact, they are already 20 seconds back off the lead of the race because of that safety car start. Harris has dropped down to the tail of the 3. Nathan Liu ahead of Daniel Liu, 9th and 10th. But I can't see how those guys are possibly going to catch Hanli Chow here, who has already got a 6.4 second advantage with 22 minutes remaining. Oh, wow! Big shunt for the 26 car. Very, very odd shunt, even before the braking zone. And Chow Chi-sun has ripped the front of that Audi apart in the braking zone into turn number 3. I haven't seen much trouble down there, but the safety car is going to be coming back out again. And we do hope that Tran is okay. He's moving around inside the car. And there is the safety car waiting to pick up our cars. Well, at least that closes the field up again, because it did feel as though half the field had not realised we were in green flag conditions. Now, what happened here? He's very early on the brakes. And, I mean, it's a classic cold tyre thing, where the car is just not quite up to temperature, and he's asking it to do something that it's just not ready to do yet. But at this point, he should be straight and heading towards the braking zone. I mean, there is a kink there. That's what we're calling turn number 2, but it's not been really a corner all weekend. And he's nosed that car heavy onto the inside and the outside walls from 2nd position. And that is a real disappointment. So that's 6.4 second advantage that Han Li Chao has gone to nothing. And it will be Wang Hao who will be in second position in his Toyota Supra. Oh, no, it won't. It'll be Yang Meng in his Aston Martin. So somehow Yang Meng's got himself up ahead of Wang Hao. And then Moritz Berenberg in fourth position. Now, that would not be enough to get himself stopping Han Li Chao from winning this championship. Still got 20-odd minutes to go. There are Lotuses that will be happy to see the safety car. So there's the line you should be taking from the 33. Here comes the Audi. I just can't quite understand why it decided to pitch itself into the wall. I can only imagine that those tyres still not up to temperature. We talked about temperature all weekend long because the tarmac at some points was only 11 degrees. It's actually quite a lot better now than it was, let's say, this morning. 17 degrees, but still really hard work from these drivers to get up to temperature. I could just imagine that Audi wasn't quite there yet. Young men looking pretty chilled down there in E-Town, but his car a sorry state. And of course, lots of carbon fibre also scattered around the braking zone into turn number 3. So cars needing to be careful not to pick up too much debris. We saw Han Li Chao get himself a puncture in race number 1. We weren't really sure how he was able to do that. The brushes are being prepared. And they will head out onto circuit and get rid of the worst of it. And hopefully we will be able to continue racing. The sun beating down on our grandstands on the start and finish straight. Each evening it really has been absolutely spectacular sunsets. We actually had, about an hour later than this, we had practice for the GT3 cars on Friday evening, and the photos that came out of that were just beautiful. Han Li Chao leading Yang Meng, then Wang Hao, Moritz Berenberg and Zhang Hulin. No progress made from our 3 Lotuses. So Lu Wenhu in 8th, Lu Wenlong in 9th, and Jonathan Harris in 10th position. They did manage to get themselves 1 spot up ahead of Xiao Meng in the 924. Don't forget, this championship began its inauguration at the start of this year, the end of March in Shanghai, as a support race to the Formula One Grand Prix with a packed grid of over 30 cars. And really provided great entertainment for those of you that were able to watch and also at the circuit. Then in Pintang in July, held its second race around the streets of Pintang, and actually therefore has pretty much a street circuit only championship if you ignore the Shanghai race, because Pintang then here and then Macau in a month's time. There is that low sun shining down the front straightaway. I don't know whether it's the sun shining on those tyre marks over the bridge here, but I wonder whether, as our weekend has gone on, if those bumps have become more pronounced. Of course, the tarmac should have set, but it doesn't set as complete concrete, especially when you drive high-powered racing cars over it. It does move around a little bit. And if you're slamming GT3 cars onto it across a weekend, it's going to compress. And it does look with that low sun as though it's got worse, but I think it's probably more likely that the light is having an effect on it rather than anything else. It's a beautiful park, the Tongming Lake Park, with a beautiful walking path around the extreme of it and through the middle of it. It's a canal that runs through the center of it, and that's what these joins are in the tarmac going into turn 1 and coming out of turn 12. Just getting a hoist system ready to put that Audi on the flatbed. SRO have actually designed a system that you can quickly attach to any kind of lifting, and you just bolt it into the roof and lift the car straight off. Here's this incident again. I wonder whether he's lifting off in preparation for braking, and the rears he's just too much loaded on the front end, and the rears have just said, no, I haven't got the grip. It's an odd one. You can see that happening into turn 1 because of the bump, but there's not really many bumps into turn number 3. There is a little bit of corrugation, but it's not mad, and it's certainly not where he lost the rear end of that car. So a bit of a mystery, but another decent shunt in the GT Cup race, I'm afraid. As the sun goes down over another weekend here in Beijing. But for the world of motorsport, a significant weekend in Chinese international motorsport. There aren't so many championships that get the opportunity to visit. They all desperately would like to. It's an important market, China. And for 2026, the SRO GT World Challenge will visit both Shanghai and Beijing on the program. And one would expect that the SRO GT Cup would be a support race to it. Great support from Toyota Gazoo Racing China, obviously from Pegasus as well, bringing 3 cars to the party. Win here, Harmony Racing entering a car, and obviously running the victorious car in the GT3 race a little bit earlier on. There is our 11th machine behind the 3 Lotuses, so that was the only car to be overtaken by Nathan, Daniel and Jonathan. It could have quite easily been a simple little error on cold tyres somewhere. Even saw that from Moritz Berenberg, didn't we? He going through turns 4 or 5, running wide. But the cars behind did a similar thing, almost followed him through. Minutes remaining on the clock for race 2 of SRO's GT Cup here in Beijing. The cleanup continues down at turn number 3 after Chuang Chi-sun has unfortunately seemingly dropped it under braking. So you look from that shot and then suddenly you go, oh, there is actually a proper corner there, but these cars are so fast that you would imagine it's not too much of a problem, and certainly it's not sort of a corner that we've noticed being an issue throughout the weekend. A lot of drivers saying they enjoyed turn number 3 because of the element of trail braking, that you can go in there and turn and brake at the same time, especially in a GT3 car where it's got the ABS to help. More tricky in the GT4 car because of that lack of downforce and that reliance upon the traction and the grip. Blue skies all day. Aren't we lucky? Now, an orange hue over Tongming Lake. Lots of fans have made their way both into the VIP areas and into the grandstands around the circuit. It's been a hugely popular event for the locals, with big festivities down in E-Town. In this area, the shopping mall that they pass under just in the front of your shot there. And in the inside there is a big sort of festival atmosphere with a stage. There was some karaoke going on last night. Lots of food stalls. And usually, of course, being a business district, a Saturday night, there would be nothing going on. More busy in the restaurants on Friday night than there was on Saturday, that's for sure. But you can also imagine when we come here next year that there'll be a couple more skyscrapers built and a couple more hotels available. There's already a Marriott, mammoth Marriott under construction on the outside of turn number 1. And these offices open and available for businesses to relocate. And that is the idea of this economic area, to bring technology companies together to create a centre of excellence for them with all the correct facilities that they need. There's the one of 4 bridges that crosses the circuit, I believe. Pretty cool to stand on those bridges and see cars whizzing under your feet. They're not blocked off completely like you find in so many racetracks where you can't see underneath you. And the bridge that runs down towards turn number 8, you can stand right in the middle of the circuit with the cars coming right underneath your feet. So really, really quite spectacular experience when they're doing over 100 miles an hour. Toyota flags, Toyota Gazoo Racing China. Fans for their works drivers, let's not forget that Han Li Chao and Wang Hao, both works drivers for Toyota, sitting 1st and 3rd in this race. So a good haul of points, but more importantly, Han Li Chao is going to be crowned the very first SRO GT Cup champion if it stays this way. Track now clear down at turn number 3 by the looks of things. So maybe we're going to get a couple of laps of racing. And you can almost guarantee that if we do, those Lotuses are going to provide all the entertainment, because the grid formed from times that weren't really representative of anything. Warm-up laps in qualifying. And that qualifying abandoned yesterday evening. And now they've gained their disadvantage that was formed at the start of the race. There might be an opportunity here for Dan Liu, if he can stay awake, because of course he's been already in the GT3 race this morning, in the GT4 race, the GT3 race this afternoon, and now under safety car here. 5 minutes remaining, and safety car is coming in this lap. Han Li Chao gets the hammer down in his Toyota Supra to bring us back to green flag racing through the tricky chicane. Dan Liu almost pushing his brother along, hurrying him towards turn number 12 on the final corner of the lap. There's already a bit of a gap between Li Chao and Wen Hu in 8th spot, but what about Moritz Berenberg? He needs to really get a hustle on. In 4th position, in that Porsche Cayman, tucked under the rear wing of Han. Looking for 3rd spot, goes to the outside, in towards turn number 1, over these 2 bumps. Sweeps around the outside, there's yellow flags flying around there. So I'm not sure he was allowed to do that, but either way, he moves himself up into 3rd. Let's call it as it is. On a charge, chasing down Yang Meng. Here are the Lotuses behind. Nathan and Daniel helping each other out. Trying to get past Yu Rao. They're on the outside line coming towards turn number 3. Yu Rao gets out of the way, lets them through. And that's 1 position gained for them. Slow moving Xiao Meng down in 11th spot. And here comes Han Li Chao with a little bit of an advantage over the Aston Martin. So Berenberg could probably quite easily get up into 2nd position here. The Lotuses have now got past the Mercedes of Li Quan and now Hulin as well. So they're closing in, and that is why Moritz needs to get a move on, because there's great pace with both Nathan and Daniel. Daniel can't get a way through. Yes, he does find a way through. My Lord, they are very kind, aren't they? All just knowing that these Lotuses are coming through and getting out of the way. It's almost like a red Ferrari. Has that same effect. You see it in the mirrors, go, whoop, okay. I'm going to move out of the way of that charging car. Berenberg to the outside of Yang Men. Well, there's no room there. Now, just have a look on the inside wall into turn number 1. I think that there's a flag flying. I think there's a yellow flag into turn number 1, but Moritz Berenberg goes to the outside. He gets the move done before the yellow flag zone, but there is a yellow flag. We can see it there, yes. So you're not allowed to be overtaking into turn number 1. And that surely means a penalty coming Berenberg's way, sadly. Either way, he's up to 2nd position now, and the gap is 3.6 seconds to Han Li Chao. Yang Men under pressure now from Wang Ho. A little bit of a gap to the 2 Lotus that are now free air. Didn't quite see which one was ahead of the other in that particular shot, whether it's Nathan ahead of Daniel. And there is the gap between our leaders. Was 3.6, now 3.1. Still Nathan ahead of Daniel in the battle of the brothers in the Lotuses. But one of them, I think, can stand on the podium again, because they've got those 2 in their sights. And Han Li Chao is going to get across the line before the end of the race. There's another little battle going on for 7th position between Hulin, Li Quan, Rao, Harris, and, well, Mung's not quite there. But here comes Jonathan Harris down the inside of Rao. Doesn't quite get it done because Hulin is a bit slow in front of them. Now they're rushing towards that brake line where they're not allowed to overtake into the chicane. Berenberg through shot. Yang Men. Then Wen Hao. And Wen Hu and Wen Long. .47 seconds remaining, so we do have, it's supposed to be, I'm pretty sure, oh, final lap race control. Okay, I thought it was 30 minutes plus 1 lap, but we're going to go final lap this time. Over the jump in towards turn number 1. Oh, that's a big slide from Daniel Liu. He gathered it up, but I thought he was going to go in the wall there. In the number 20, Emira. Could be a challenge ahead of them for third spot one last time, side by side. Possibly not what the Lotuses like. And Wang Hao goes up ahead. Aston Martin slowing then. Gets mugged by 3 cars. And Yang Men drops from third down to 5th position. Here's a replay of the first move. Was he ahead before the yellow? Well, the yellow will be about there, and he probably was just pretty tight. Pretty tight between them. Final lap. Berenberg is not going to catch Han Li Chao, and therefore Han Li Chao is going to still be the champion of the first SRO GT Cup, but it was a brave effort from Moritz Berenberg. What about the third position, though? I think it still possibly could change into the final corner, of course. How is holding on, but he's slow through the chicane. And Nathan Liu is going to have to do a big dive into turn number 12. Is there an overlap under the trees? No, there isn't. He's not going to be close enough. Must have been slow off the chicane. And therefore, Hao is going to hold on. Over the line for the flag. Han Li Chao takes the victory. Moritz Berenberg in 2nd position. And Wang Hao in 3rd spot. The two brothers, what could have been for them with a few more racing laps. 4th and 5th, with the Aston Martin dropping down to 6th in the end. And Zhou Liyuan in 7th position. I've now worked out how I got confused earlier on in the weekend with not seeing the checkered flag. It's because the checkered flag is around the corner before the start line. So the start line is one place, the finishing line is earlier than that, and I think it's actually tucked around the corner. It's actually outside of my commentary box window sort of position. So victory, his 4th of the season for Han Li Chao, after missing out in race 1, gets the full points in race 2, and that is enough for the overall SRO GT Cup Championship. They don't even need to go to Macau, although he will want to, as so many will, and I imagine the grid will swell for the final race of the year in a few weeks' time. This is how close it got. Whoa. Victory for Han Li Chao. In the end, 1.2 seconds the gap between himself and Moritz Berenberg. And Moritz was chasing him down, but the fastest lap of the race went to Daniel Liu, a 1:55.5. Quite down in 5th position. And our teams and cars make their way back to pit lane. A much better second half of the day for Toyota Gazoo Racing China and their Supras. 2 on the podium. There were none in race 1, but I suppose that's therefore then disappointment for Pegasus. The sun sets on a spectacular weekend of action. The inaugural Beijing Street Circuit race meeting here in E-Town. And an absolutely capacity crowd, there's no doubt about that. These grandstands scattered all around the circuit. The beautiful sphere down in the Shang E-Town Centre. There's the shopping centre and hotel district. And see how the track designers have played with the track width there, allowing the circuit to open up into the apexes and then narrow on exits. So you never quite know initially on those first sighting laps if it's going to be a tightens or a widens on exit, or you're starting tight and then going wide like you do into turn number 1. Now, Maurice Berenberg is going to be on the podium for second position, but there's no sign that race controller are investigating him for overtaking under yellow flag, so perhaps we'll just keep that one quiet. Hanli Chow, by dint partly of having the fastest warm-up lap, got himself the pole position. His start was insane when we went to green flag racing. He had a 6-second advantage. And then, of course, we had the second safety car period. We were able to get the track clear and back to racing, which was great news. Of course, representing and driving the GT4 Evo 2 Toyota Supra. The very, very latest development. Tough work, even though it is only 11 degrees. It'll be feel cold once they get out the cars, having been sat in the warmth for a while with a bit of sweat on. It'll be nice and chilly. Hopefully the champagne is warmer. We'll get Feline set up for our interviews and hear from our top three. Of course, we're going to have celebrations for the Silver Cup, so Nathan Liu will be on the podium for that in third position. And we also have the AM category, Moritz Berenberg ahead of Yang Meng and Zhou Liyuan. So the Mercedes getting on the podium in race 2, so good effort after its race 1 issues. No such problems for Moritz Berenberg with his car turning off in race 1. He kept it on for the race in the second encounter. And let's now go down to Feline. And she has found our winner, Hanli Chow.
韩立潮，恭喜你拿到了本场比赛的冠军，同时你也是提前锁定了车队还有车手的冠军，跟大家聊聊你这整个比赛周吧。
真的非常开心。然后这一站其实对于我们来说挑战性非常非常大。因为我们的 BOP， 然后我们的尾速其实是比较低的一个状态，竞争力不是特别的好。另外呢，大家要知道这个。北京也是我的老家，然后也是丰田中国的所在地，所以会有很多很多的这个丰田的工作人员，包括现场的一些粉丝过来给我们加油。然后车队这一周末也是在不停的紧锣密鼓，我们每次晚上都在研究视频，然后怎么去能再提高一点点。所以整个周末最后的这个结果是我们非常开心的，也是比较幸运的。然后，感谢丰田中国，感谢GR China， 然后还有我们整个的车队成员。然后在这里我特别想提一下，我们的车队老板，其实他现在生病的状态，然后他在医院里拿着手机一直在看视频，关注我们的状态。包括还有家人来到这边给我们加油，所以结果非常好，非常开心，
So Hanli Chow just told me like for this race he's just not just winning this race, he's also winning his first ever like GT Cup, the winner of the driver and the team. And he especially thank you for the people from the hometown. Thanks for his boss, and because his boss is sick in the hospital now. And he said he and his team tried really hard to analyze the settings of the cars every night. The result he and his team really deserve for it. Yeah.
Thank you.
Maurice.
Yes.
So teams champions as well then as the overall champion with a round remaining. 4 victories across 6 races in this year's inaugural SRO GT Cup. Clearly a lot of joy down there. Moritz Berenberg is the AM champion, but misses out on challenging for the overall.
Congratulations, you also win the AM class. So tell us about the race weekend.
The race weekend overall is, of course, really good. I think now I accumulated enough points, so I'm also champion early before Macau, so that gets a little bit of pressure out. So I don't have to push that hard in Macau, but of course I want to have good results there as well. But it's not really the way I wanted to win the championship. I would like to fight and not that my competitor crash. And yeah, but it was overall a good race, good result. I wish we would have more racing laps under green, but I'm happy.
Yeah, so he is AM champion, and I think he was quite happy with focusing on that, although this weekend you get the feeling that he could easily have challenged for the title in total. And the sun sets here on the Beijing street circuits. The golden hues continue to shine as the sun. It's just been spectacular. It's been so lovely also to be under blue skies all day and a bit of warmth, up to 22 degrees track temperature. So different to what we're used to experiencing in the majority of the GT World Challenge Asia Championship. And here are the results then. Those two, as we've just spoken to, our AM and silver winners. 1.2 seconds the gap between the two of them by the end. And then through to Li Chao's teammates in third position. The two Lotuses, fourth and fifth, and we will see Nathan Liu back on the podium after his disqualification in race number one. He will pick up third in silver. Aston Martin and Mercedes on the podium in the AM, as we said, and on just the one car missing by the end of the race, that shunt for Shun down at turn number 3. So now just awaiting the podium ceremonies. There you can see our GT4 teams making their way back to their podium. Back to their paddock, sorry, which is on the outside of turn number 1. And that is where they have been based for the majority of the weekend. So a little bit of extra work to walk down the straight down towards turn 1 and get their cars sorted down there. Expecting more categories next year. More support races, that's the idea. But now the podium ceremonies begin with Nathan Liu, third position.
第二名21号王浩。33号韩立超。
Han Liqiao, winner in silver. Wang Hao, second in silver. And Lu Wenlu, third. It will be Patrick Pan, Pirelli's motorsport manager for Asia Pacific, who will be presenting the trophies to our top 3, both in AM and in silver.
有请各位车手还有导流到领奖台上，与我们的嘉宾合影。
And hopefully Nathan gets to heap that second trophy after sharing the podium with his brother earlier on. Kept his brother at bay in this second race. I'm guessing Daniel perhaps was being a little bit kind, not challenging his brother too much, not going for a crazy move. Better to make their way up through the field more than anything else. And the celebrations to the team and to the remaining fans of Toyota Gazoo Racing China. And now for our AM podium with Zhou Liyuan and Yang Meng. And of course, Moritz Berenberg. Fastest lap of the race for Moritz, a 55.6, which was 1.3 seconds faster than Han Li Chao, and only a 10th faster than Dan Liu. So much like we saw in practice, you've got to say that, for me, Moritz Berenberg was the star of the show this weekend in GT Cup. He just didn't have enough opportunities to take the victory. With the car shutting off in race 1, and with this race 2 being only a couple of laps of racing. And now, of course, lessons will be learnt and plans put in place for next year's race, already set on the calendar. And certainly, if you talk to the drivers around the paddock, a real favourite, a surprise perhaps, with street circuits generally being tough to overtake on. The width that this place offers, the variability of the corners. And onto the podium for Climax Racing. Zhou Liyuan, not sure which step to stand on. There is Yang Meng in his Aston Martin, who was rather mugged, wasn't he, when he was going down into turn number 3. Had 3 cars on his inside and not much he could do about it. Moritz Berenberg, though, your AM champion.
Now we are delighted to invite General Manager of Toyota Energy China, General Manager of Total Energy China, Mr. Anthony Liu, to sending us the trophies.
So the AM trophies presented to our top 3. And that rounds out our coverage and our entertainment here in Beijing this weekend. Macau coming up in a couple of weekends' time. Make sure you tune in and find out how the SRO GT Cup concludes. And no doubt there'll be a few surprises in that grid. I know Darrell O'Young is back in the GT4 car in Macau for his final weekend, and he will certainly want a big result. A little bit more champagne spraying? Yes, why not? And so as the champagne sprays onto the sunsets of Beijing, we wrap up a wonderful weekend around an incredible racetrack. A wonderful time we've had. And we thank you for keeping with us throughout today. I hope you've enjoyed the entertainment, and we will see you in Beijing next year. See you then.